Well, this crank assembly is from a very late 50s or very early 60s Redditch 350 Royal Enfield bullet, and it's yet another one that I've had apart to replace the big end, and it's all gone back together now, and I've trued it. I've already made a video showing how I do that, so I'm at the point now where I know that this crank is ready to go, so we'll just check it over and it'll be a personal sort of record for me, and the owner can see it as well. But as usual, I've got my imperial gauge on the left there and my metric gauge on the right, but I know what I'm doing with them because I know how they work, and the readings on them are actually very similar from one number to the next on the face. And we've got, obviously, from the 0 to the 5 on the imperial one is 5/1000ths of an inch, and the 0 in this case to the 9, but each division then, if you like, because we're going that way, is 0.1 of a millimetre or 4/1000ths of an inch. So like I say, looking at the pair of them, I really know what we're getting. So here we go, I'll just spin the crank, and what might first appear to be rather alarming about this is that we're actually showing 5/1000ths of an inch run out there on the imperial one, and on the metric one we're showing very nearly 4/1000ths of an inch, certainly 3.5, which you might think is bad news, except that the needles on the clocks are both moving in the same direction at the same time as each other, rising and falling. So as usual, one cancels the other out. Now I wouldn't want to see a whole sort of rotation or anywhere near it of the clock face, but when you're talking of a few thousandths of an inch like this, that's fine, because one really does cancel the other one out because they're rising and falling together. And I've got the gauges set where the main bearings, where the main shafts will be running in the main bearings. So when those main shafts are held in the main bearings, the rise and fall at the same time doesn't matter, because all it'll do is it'll actually half that amount, which we've got when you subtract one from the other, 5/1000ths of an inch and 3.5, we've got perhaps 1.5/1000ths of an inch run out in real terms. So like I say, when the main shafts are supported in the main bearings, that run out that you see there rising and falling at the same time will be transferred and halved between the centre of the flywheel assembly and the extreme ends of the main shafts. So what you're actually going to get is these parts here will be held still. There'll be no rise and fall there when they're spinning in the main bearings, and it will be transferred to the ends of the main shafts and to the centre line of the crank, if you like, and halved. So where you see 3.5/1000ths of an inch there, that will be halved and transferred to the ends of the shafts. But in real terms, at the main bearings themselves, there'll be 1.5/1000ths of an inch run out at the main bearings, which is as good as saying nothing, really. And the assembly's spinning nicely. The flywheels aren't sort of wandering in and out towards each other and away from each other as I spin it. They're running nice and true and parallel. The other thing to consider with this crank is there's also where on this location where it's run directly in its old roller bearings, so that will add a little bit as well. There's a modern way around that where you can fit a sleeve over that and fit a needle roller bearing, but actually the surface is not in bad condition, so I'll be giving that some consideration. Likewise here, there's a bit of roughness there, which is again not alarming. It's been running in the inner races of proper bearings this side, but there's obviously been a little bit of slipping and fretting going on at some point in its life, but it's not bad. So when you factor all that in as well, that really isn't bad. I'm very happy with that, and I'm sure I'll put that into the bottom end of the engine, clamp it all together in the main bearings, and find that I can spin the crank freely by grabbing the end of the main shaft between fingers and thumb and spinning it with ease. So that's another one ready to go.